Talk about Resident Evil, the final chapter, right? Now, believe it or not, January this year has actually not been completely shitty. I thought this January, which is now pretty much coming to an end, was actually not that bad. We actually managed to go unscathed without putting a bullet through our brains. Now, let's talk about this Resident Evil franchise, okay? Because this is the final chapter. This is the big one. This is what we've been waiting for. Is it final chapter? Probably not. Most likely. You can take my bet for it. I'll just say that right now. It's most likely isn't an end. If Hollywood has kind of taught us anything, it's not going to be the end. But let's talk about Resident Evil Final Chapter. Now, this Resident Evil franchise has kind of been a little bit hit and miss. A little bit dumb, and it just kind of went into the route of just kind of being stupid. The first one I actually thought was pretty good. Had a little bit like the Resident Evil 4 vibe. Same thing for the second one. I thought it was actually kind of better. Some people don't. Whatever. Third one was just kind of boring. And I mean really, really boring. And I thought Afterlife kind of picked up the pace a little bit. And then Retribution really just kind of pissed me off because that movie just felt like it really was a big waste of my time and my money. And that I don't like to waste money, and I'm sure you don't either. So, but overall, after the second one, I feel like 3 and the rest of them just kind of went a little bit stupid with superpowers and clones and extinctions and fucking Mike Epps and whatever it may be, and then Ashanti. The whole bunch kind of just got thrown in there, and a lot of weird shits just started happening, and things didn't really make too much sense. You even had janitor, Whitworth Miller as Chris Redfield. But everything just kind of went into attack. Now, some people probably saying, well, does the final chapter kind of like go out on a high note? Does it change the formula like one last time? And the truth is, no, it doesn't really do it at all. This is pretty much basically the exact same movie that you've been watching for the past, 5 films or 6 films now? And that's pretty much the simple case. You get pretty much Alice at the very beginning kind of doing a prologue saying, my name is Alice, I work for the Umbrella Corporation, or I worked for the Umbrella Corporation, the T-Virus, or whatever it may be. That's pretty much what you pretty much get. You get the recap, and that's pretty much the basic formula. Then after that, it's just constant action scenes after action scenes, and that's pretty much it. I will give this movie props, though. I did like that the movie actually does have a pretty clear focus as to what they want to do. Even though the focus does get broken up into a whole bunch of action sequences because they realize that the story's not really that great, or the script is, then I feel like that's actually a pretty good thing because the story is basically about Alice and, how it all came to fruition, pretty much. Coming full circle, so to speak. And I really did enjoy seeing that, so it goes from point A to point B, like a video game for the most part. Because it is. Now, Paul W.S. Anderson, not to be confused with Paul Thomas Anderson, because I know a lot of people get that confused, which is baffling. But the guy managed to actually do something very good, right? Not necessarily this movie, but he actually managed to do one of the best video game adaptations, Mortal Kombat, and actually have a very successful video game franchise being this. Now, whether you like him or not, he's responsible for those 2 big successful accomplishments. And banging Milla Jovovich, so you can kind of throw that into the ring. Overall, this movie does have action scenes, as I said, but I don't know if it's the camera work or Michael J. Fox was the cameraman himself, but this shit is kind of shaky, and for some reason I feel like I didn't know really what was going on. The action scenes looked good, and the movie looks good, but I just felt like I didn't know really what was happening just to begin with. Overall, I just never really felt like I was really behind Alice. I felt like I liked Alice because I've seen her in other films, but I just felt like she feels like she's just superhuman. She's never really vulnerable. The movie does have a story about 48 hours. They got to beat the shit, 48 hours, whatever it may be. They got to get to Raccoon City. And I'm just like, it's supposed to add some tension to it, the clock ticking, like a 24 thing. But the problem is you just don't really get that because the script doesn't really allow anybody to get fleshed out that much. You get like a $2 Omar Epps version of a black guy in this film. And then you get Ruby Rose, which still to this day, I'm still baffled as to why people are still obsessed with Ruby Rose. But that's just my thought to begin with. She's in 3 movies this year. But overall, this Resident Evil franchise is exactly what you pretty much get. It's a sloppy, incoherent mess that seems like it reboots itself every time it kind of comes along. And that's exactly why people kind of say the Underworld movies and this is very similar, obviously, because you have 2 strong female leads. They're banging the directors. Their husbands, executive producers, and writers on this thing. The list can go on and on and on, and everything just kind of feels like it doesn't really make too much sense. The movie does have an ending, and I thought it actually was a nice enough ending. But overall, this movie managed to do something that Underworld doesn't, especially Blood Wars, and it actually managed to be at least fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously enough that you can't really get into it, but it takes itself serious enough that you can actually give a shit about the end. But overall, Resident Evil, the final chapter, which most likely probably isn't, manages to be a fun movie that still manages to make the same mistakes as the original, which is pretty much straying away from the formula of the actual games. But then again, what are you going to really do? Even the games kind of strayed away from the formula. But overall, I would say, like I said, this is a fun popcorn movie, and it's a guilty movie pleasure for some people, and I can understand that because I actually do like the franchise and have them on DVD. But overall, if you're expecting something new and different, don't. The acting's pretty much half-assed for the most part, except MILLA and I guess Dr. Isaacs. But other than that, that's kind of it. Ali Lard is in this movie as Claire Redfield. No Wentworth Miller, no Ada. Once again, you get characters that are just kind of taken in one movie and then taken out in the next. I don't understand this franchise really, and it just constantly gets confusing for the most part. Overall, you can't really bitch and complain about this franchise at this point because it's the final chapter, you know? But overall, you've been getting the exact same shit since day one, and you're still going to get it to the final end. But overall, this is a book that probably should be closed for a while at least, and then open it back up and reboot the shit to a horror thing, just like the game is doing, which is pretty fantastic. But overall, comment, subscribe, and like, share this video if you can. I'm Chris Smith, and I'm signing out.